about my own experience with social media. So I thought I'll share what I do, and then if you have any questions specific to what you do, and if I can help you in any way, I'd be happy to do that. Just sit back and think, what is it about you, about your brand and your access to what you do that nobody else has? So for instance, if you're a musician, it could be that you have access to behind the scenes music, right? If you're running a magazine, I'm sure there's tons of people in publishing and journalism who'd love to know the process. I remember I took a journalism class, and I remember how interesting it was that you had to hand crop all your pictures with a ruler and figure out the dimensions, just the first sketches or drafts of how you lay out a page. This is content that nobody else has, and this starts to populate your Facebook or your Twitter in a very unique way. I think at the end of the day, content is really key. As much as you want to sell something, I do a lot of brand promotions, alliances with different brands, but nobody would care what I have to say if they didn't like the other content that I was giving them, 80% of which is just pure content, and then 20% is I'm throwing promotions at them. And most of the time when I do that, I try to give them something free because people love free stuff. Yeah. So even on your blogs or on your Facebooks or your Twitters, try to run a contest once in a while. It could even be a tour of the factory. It could be something that you would not normally have a chance to experience, and people love to have new experiences like that. That I used, which I felt was really effective for me, is I created this anime, this little version of me online in alliance with Flip Videos. This is a high-definition video camera, and this is what Dhruvi is shooting me on right now. And you can get them branded. So if you do things that start promoting what you do across the board in your daily life, people will start to know who you are. Like for instance, if your laptop sleeves and all of your computers had your URL, a Twitter ID, there's no harm in actually pushing that out, promoting that. Because the next time someone interacts with you or one of your colleagues will be like, oh, I've heard of that name. And I think Digital Vidya does that because I've seen them online a lot before I actually had this conversation to come here. Something similar for the designer Narendra Kumar, where he wanted to pitch his new line of Pred clothing called Narendra Kumar Pred. So instead of doing just pictures of his new designs and okay, these are his clothes, this is how much they cost, would you like to buy some? I got 12 of my girlfriends together and we went to the store, and Jean-Claude Begin did hair and makeup for everyone, and we tried on all their clothes and we took pictures of everyone, we put them on my blog, and then we asked people to vote in an online poll to say who looked best in their dress, and she got to keep her dress. So it was a real experience that happened at the event, but you also took it online. So apart from those 12 girls who were at the store, we had 14,000 other people who experienced it and engaged in it. So you can then take a very small personal experience and take it outside the room. There's a lot of people who are doing things like that, which I'm one of the brands that I'm pretty impressed with. Cadbury Bourneville does this. So they're very heavily on Twitter with the Have You Earned It Twitter handle. And they constantly message all the celebrities and people of influence on Twitter, and they say, have you earned it? Would you like to have a Cadbury party? And they send you wine and chocolate, and they just sit, have a good time because you've earned it. And then you may or may not put your pictures back up after the event. You have this experience, and then they'll say that MissMalini had a Cadbury party, she had a great time, would you like to have one? Tomorrow, if you want, why don't you send them all a Twitter message, and I'm sure they'll be happy to throw one for your entire office as well. But it was so interesting because you're taking something that is chocolate, which you would probably associate with a certain type of event, or maybe with children, and they've changed the whole experience of it by having a social media element to it. Some other brands that also did something interesting. Tommy Hilfiger did something called a virtual treasure hunt. So for retail, of course, there's a lot of things you can do, but instead of doing the traditional method again, there was a treasure hunt that started on my blog. You had to click through two other sites, Hi Ho Confidential and Republic of Chic, and come back and click on another link, and you could win a pair of shoes. So you actually went through 3 different websites, and you actually had this experience online, but you won a retail item. Something that I'm running right now, because I think these speakers are really cute, is to mix something as simple as a particular product that you might use. So these are little speakers, and you can see so they look like little disco guys. And so instead of doing the normal contest that you want to win these speakers, I said, okay, so if you want to win these speakers, post a link of your favorite YouTube video on my Facebook wall, and you could win these. And the response has actually been huge. I mean, some people don't follow instructions very well, but they're posting them under the picture. But the thing is that you get people to engage, and things like music and movies and content like that are so popular for people anyway. is the search bar on Twitter. We just put our messages out, we read what our friends write, and then we log out because there's no new messages for us. But if there are things that you're interested in, especially in your field of work, use that search bar. The reason those hashtags are there are so that anybody who's writing about a certain topic, all those messages show up there. So for instance, if we hashtag this event, which there is one, right? DV. Yeah, so that's going to be up there, and all the messages that anyone has written, even if you're not following them, will show up in that search. So you will find that what Twitter was trying to do was create communities around things that interest people. One of the things that I learned recently online is that when you use social media, the best thing to do is be a little humble about it, and more than talk about yourself and things that you're doing, for every one of those messages, you should write 12 about other people. Whether it's an interesting movie you saw, a book you read, something to do with an event that you went to, for instance this event, and someone else said something interesting, feel free to write about it. So you then garner interest because people start valuing your opinion and they start feeling like you're saying something that's worth listening. A few quick Twitter tips. Use hashtags. It'll help people even who are not following you find you online. So if you hashtag something that you do with your brand, it'll probably pop up a lot better. Encourage people to retweet. Just a simple RT at the end of your Twitter message, you'll be amazed how many people will say, oh well, I'll retweet it. Retweet other people. It builds a lot of goodwill. Also, don't promote something that you don't honestly support and believe in. Try not to, and I made this mistake the other day when someone sent me a message saying, Facebook now has a dislike button, and I was like, that's awesome, and I tweeted it, and it was actually a virus, and I was like, oh shit, I'm sorry. So then you have to go back and apologize. But it's okay, people understand if you get excited about stuff. I met these guys from a search engine perspective, and they told me something very interesting. They're saying it's changed now how people search on Google. Sorry. What's happening is that Google now, when you search, picks up videos and pictures on top when you search for anything. So most brands in India especially don't have any video content. So even if you have a very serious brand or a more fun brand, whatever it is, start creating short 30-second, 40-second video clips. Just create a YouTube channel like this, and your search results will always show up on top in search. So like for instance, Farmville would have worked really well for an agricultural brand, right? I mean, they just never bought into it, but it would have been genius for them. Have like a little anime that looks like you, and people can poke him and ask him stuff and torture him. Sorry? Yeah, they do. Some people have a lot of money.